All right. What is going on, everyone? How are we doing today? What is up? It's your boy. How we doing today? Hope everyone is doing well. It is October 12th, 2025. It's been a while since we streamed, indeed, but I'm happy to be here, happy to be back. And I think this is a fun one, as a lot of you guys have kind of theorized in the chat. I see you guys already, so I'm excited to get into a discussion, especially a discussion that is inverse, because that means we don't have to go through any of the other scaling nonsense, because we can just stick to Jujutsu Kaisen. We know where Yuji sits. We'll talk a little bit about how he compares to the characters, and then we can kind of rank them, as you'll see on my amazing tier list, the legendary and reliable tiermaker.com. Whoever supports tiermaker.com and whoever runs this server, you are single-handedly supporting half, if not more so, of all, if not most content out there. So yeah, good for you. Shouts out to the good people at tiermaker.com. And we're gonna see how final Yuji, with all of his power-ups, everything he's gained from the Shinjuku Showdown, if Yuji from like chapter 271, when he fights that curse user, was to go through every colony of the culling game, would he be able to solo, with no help, fight every single one of the evil culling game players? This means that he doesn't have to worry about people like Takaba. He doesn't have to worry about people that are going to be on our side like Angel. He mostly just has to defeat all of the villains, all of the people that our good and lucky protagonist roster had to go through themselves. And as a lot of you are kind of mentioning, this isn't as easy as some of the other gauntlets that Yuji might run through. But let's see what some of you guys are saying. I'm happy to see all of you guys in chat. What's up, Crimson Titan? What is up, Enmaten? What's up, Dominic? Final form Yuji ain't soloing. We'll get into it. We'll see. He's got a couple tough runs. Now, obviously, what I will go ahead and say is, without a doubt, even if Yuji loses, we will be carrying on and just seeing where every character sits. So, like, we'll go through every character. Modulo's so bad, bro's making content about a culling game. Modulo's doing really well right now, to be completely honest with you. I don't even know. Like, to be like, this most recent chapter I thought was really, really good. I'm really happy with where Modulo is, and I know in, like, honestly, like another month or so, everyone's gonna be really enjoying Modulo as well. The hate is slowly dying off. Right now, it just kind of is starting to feel forced, because we got a couple really good chapters in a row. And like, again, even if you're holding out for Modulo for now, you're still waiting for it to get a little bit better. I'm pretty sure it will. One Yuji sighting was enough to get the masses moving. You know, the vibes are still there. If you hate your no, I mean, it's okay if you don't like it, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that like you're wrong for, you know, not liking Modulo, but I'm just saying that, like, I really think that, like, a lot of people are starting to realize that Modulo is going to be decent. It's going to be good. And what's going to happen is, now a lot of the people that are still saying that it's so bad are starting to, you know, not run out of things to say, because funnily enough, what I've noticed most of the time is most people are like, oh dude, it's Boruto with the aliens, like aliens are so, like, and it's like, we haven't even really like it is so, the aliens are not like, are so, I don't even know what the word is, because I said that they're not the main focus of the story, and someone pointed out that they literally are the main focus of the story. It's not the right word. Like, Gege isn't leaning into the alien thing. Like, it's not like we've ran into space and we're traveling outer, you know, different galaxies. We've maintained so much of the base Jujutsu Kaisen foundation, even more so. Like, the world building is so much more fleshed out, and everything that people complained about in JJK is Modulo is looking to not answer. Like, it's not looking to directly answer the plot holes of Jujutsu. I wouldn't say there's plot holes, but like plot inconsistencies or plot issues that people had. Modulo is looking to better flesh out the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. I think it does a really good job of that. So far, it is, at least. Like I remember I saw a comment, someone was saying that like, I wish we didn't go directly to aliens and we instead focused on like a smaller curse user for Tsurugi and Yuka to show their power at. And I was like, how are you gonna comment that on an arc where that literally just happened? But anyway, yeah, enough about Modulo. I really like Modulo. And you know what? Let's poll the community while we're still in this kind of like introductory phase of the stream, right? I think this is a decent poll. Can Maru slam post JJK Megami? Maru showed a pretty decent fucking performance this last chapter that just came out. Pretty fucking OP. I don't know if he would beat Megami necessarily. I think I would need to see a little bit more of Maru, but Megami, post JJK Megami is still pretty fucking strong. So haven't read Modulo yet, so all right, so I won't spoil too much, but I will say, you know, Modulo seems to be pretty good so far. But let's get into what we're all here for today, which is Yuji versus the Culling Game. Now, as I mentioned before, because this is all in universe, this is all pretty simple, and we can get right to the fights very easily. We can classify the fights as insta-loss, high diff, mid-diff, low diff, and insta-win. The lower you are, obviously the easier it is for Yuji to bop your shit. The higher you are, the harder to almost impossible it is for Yuji to bop your shit. And what I want to do here is see if Yuji could run a gauntlet successfully and solo the entire Culling game, stop everything himself. Because without getting too controversial, something that a lot of people have mentioned is that Yuji is now equal to Gojo. Yuji should be able to do everything that Gojo can do if that is the case. And, you know, we can talk up, down, left, and right about potential and everything like that, but you know what? Let's put our money where our mouths are. Let's take bets right now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna run Yuji through the Culling game, because if we're saying Yuji is equal to Gojo, if Gojo could have stopped the Culling game single-handedly. So let's see if Yuji can do the same. Let's do it via colonies or each individual player. So what we're gonna do is we're going to go through, so obviously everything's gonna be split up into colonies, but we're also gonna split it into individual players. So we're gonna have Yuji run through the exact same line of characters that we get into during the Culling game arc, which is Higuruma to Hokuzono and Reggie. And then we go right to Druve, Kururushi, Uro, and Ishigori, just like Yuta would have. We do jump back into Tokyo Colony number 2, which is Kashimo. And then we have Naoya and Curse Naoya. Now, I do want to see how Yuji would do against regular Naoya first, and then we'll see how he goes against Curse Naoya and if that changes the fight. Now, we also have Yorozu, who is technically speaking a Culling game player. So I want to see, Sumeki would have always been possessed by Yorozu, meaning Yorozu would have to have been a fight no matter what. And then we have Kenjaku as the final game master, the final way to end everything. Now, just to get everything right off the bat, when it comes to Itadori Yuji, we already know without a doubt he is one of the strongest characters when it comes to physical stats. That isn't just raw force when it comes to his striking strength, that is also speed, durability, so many different things. Yuji is not only one of the fastest characters in the series, pretty much only outsped by Ryomen Sukuna, which means a lot of characters are going to be just naturally moving slower than him. However, I'm gonna say that's not everybody, right? Characters like Higuruma with less combat experience are definitely going to be getting outsped significantly. Sukuna is a Culling game player, he should be on the list. we'll definitely get into it. We can add Sukuna to the very end, right? I don't think Yuji's gonna 1v1 Sukuna. That's a very, I mean, do we really even need to discuss that? But you get what I mean, right? We have characters like Oro, Ishigori, obviously Kashimo, who is, you know, at the very least probably the closest character to lightning speed, no matter what you deem, you know, viable in the series. Kashimo is definitely one of the fastest as well, but characters like Oro, Ishigori, even maybe Kurorushi were definitely capable of hanging in the same speed class as Yuta. Yuji is probably, I would say, a little bit faster than Yuta, but not so much so that Yuta's at a complete disadvantage in getting speed blitzed, right? So I definitely feel like these characters are going to suffer less from this Yuji speed advantage compared to characters like Higuruma, Hazanoki, Registar. Even Yorozu was capable of, even in her insect form, potentially outspeeding the 15-finger Sukuna and running circles around him. So Yorozu will definitely be able to hang 10 as well, probably Kenjaku, even Naoya, who is very, very fast, even outside of his curse form. Now, when it comes to Yuji and durability, he is also one of the most durable characters in the series. He can tank a lot of significant damage, tank multiple of Sukuna's dismantles, even from his full powered form. And on top of that, you also have reverse curse technique. So even if Yuji is able to get hit and take serious damage, he can heal. Now, the difference of Yuji's reverse curse technique to someone like, say, Gojo's or Sukuna's is Yuji has a limited amount of cursed energy. No matter how much you want to say Yuji's potential is comparable to Sukuna, Yuji is not anywhere near cursed energy. Yuji is nowhere near even a character like Yuta's cursed energy, who is second to Sukuna. So it's very clear that Yuji does not, even though if you want to say Yuji has the potential, finally Yuji does not have the cursed energy total that Sukuna does. His reverse curse technique is not as free-flowing, easy to use, everything as Sukuna can. He also can't output it, correct. Now, there is a way around this as to make sure that Yuji's stamina does not run through very quickly, which is Black Flash. While Yuji cannot perform Black Flash on command, he is still crowned as the king of Black Sparks because he is able to hit Black Flash so often it's almost as if you would think he could hit it on command. Yuji is very often in the zone. Yuji is very often in the perfect mindset to flare up and hit a Black Flash. It's almost as if his critical hit chance is extremely high compared to other characters. So the great thing about Black Flash is if you hit enough, not only does it spark your connection to your cursed energy core, but it also causes that energy to fluctuate, potentially causing Zenkai boosts, which is Dragon Ball terms for power-ups in the middle of battle. You also have regaining of cursed energy stock, regaining of reverse curse technique, regaining of curse technique output in general, lowering of cooldown after domain expansion, all of that good stuff. Then, on top of this, when it comes to what Yuji's abilities are, obviously he has his own version of Dismantle, which is just a physical contact type move where he's able to cut someone directly after tracing a line of scissors around them. On top of this, he's also able to use a Binding Vow to apply his soul attacks to those dismantles as well. Yuji's able to punch characters by the boundaries of their soul. He can also dismantle and cut them at the boundaries of their soul. And what that basically means is, as Sukuna himself even describes, it is the exact same concept as when Yuji was fighting a character like Mahito. And as Mahito explains it, there's basically a stamina level or a health bar to your soul. And even if you reverse curse technique your physicality, if you get hit at the soul, you are slowly and further whittling down your overall ability to continue fighting. If your soul gets whittled down too low, eventually your entire output and energy will slow and break. Now, there are characters that are going to be affected by this more than others, specifically characters that are reincarnated players, like Oro, like Reggie, like Ishigori, like Kashimo. Because they are two souls inhabiting one, Yuji will have the ability to not only disrupt them at the soul level, but also disrupt their hold on the cursed object that is incarnating them into that vessel. As we've even seen, Sukuna spit up multiple of the fingers that he ate while he was inside of Megami, and was only holding on because it wasn't all of the fingers that were inside of that until Yuji used his domain, won the domain clash, and actually ripped Sukuna out of Megami. So what that means is there's a good potential chance, if enough damage is done, Yuji gets a good enough Black Flash or a good enough hit, one of the vessels could choke up and throw up the cursed object before their actual sorcerer is done fighting, which means that's a quick and easy KO from the very beginning. So you have that. You also have Yuji's blood manipulation. Yuji is piss poor at using convergence, though. We have this confirmed as well. You could argue that maybe Final Yuji is better at using convergence, but either way, from what we've seen in the story, he's unable to use convergence on his own. He can attach his limbs together. He can make his blood, burst and boil if it gets landed on someone. He can spit his blood out like Kechizu and stuff like that. However, you could argue maybe flowing red scale, but I'm unsure completely if that's possible and if that requires convergence, so I don't want to give that to him. He does have those gauntlets, so his, striking strength is definitely applied and boosted physically for sure. Yuji also has domain expansion, which is a big thing as well, and his domain expansion, for lack of a better term, is just being able to not only trap someone inside of his barrier and make them surrender by telling them that he can separate them entirely, as he does to Sukuna. So all reincarnated Culling Game players are basically, if they get hit by Yuji's domain, cooked. You think he can go like Choso elongated man ability? Maybe. What up, Vex? How we doing? It's been a while since last stream. Don't apologize. I'm just happy to see you, Vex. Always happy to see you in chat. What up, Tiberius? Hey, we also know Yuji has simple domain. Also keep in mind that if Yuji does get caught in a domain clash, Yuji hasn't shown much effort or refinement in domain clash. If you want to say that he gets caught in a domain clash and the innate techniques cancel out and it becomes like a Gojo Sukuna version where they're fighting inside of the domain, or it's just someone they either just continually clash and they fight and then one of them wins or one of them loses, that is a possibility as well. And then it really just comes down to who's able to fight without their technique better, which potentially that is almost always going to be Yuji. Since we know he's got a heavenly restriction user that uses the tools curse to make simple domain, can he also hit a Black Flash using the weapon's energy too? You know about Tsurugi? That's a really good point. I never really thought about that. That's a really good chance he could. What up, Julius? Season 3 is gonna break the internet. Yo, no op, long time no speak. What's up, Elram? How we doing? Season 3 is gonna break the internet for real. Everyone hit that like button if you haven't already, but I think we've explained a lot about Yuji enough where we can get into it, yeah? I don't know if there's anything that I might have forgotten, but let's see, let's poll one more time. The easiest poll of all, yes or no, can Yuji solo? Everyone place your bets now. Everyone place your bets now. What up, Plank? How we doing? Tsurugi with that Toji strength hitting a Black Flash at the power of 2.5 would literally have pulverized Heian Suguna. If Maki, yeah, I'm imagining like Maki hitting a Black Flash, like that would have been it. That would have been game over. Anyway. Nah, I can't beat Takaba. I honestly thought about putting Takaba on here, but Takaba's not a villain. Takaba wouldn't fight Yuji. But either way, let's get into it, y'all. Let's not waste any more time. let's not, mince any more words, and let's get into it, y'all. Yuji, of course, is going to go up against the very first battle of the culling game, which is Higuruma. Now, that being said, someone already mentioned it in chat, but Yuji is a huge degree stronger than he was when he fought Higuruma, and that was already saying something, because Yuji was fresh off of his leg up in the Shibuya incident, where he was basically just slowly absorbing all of the strength and power from 15-finger Sukuna while he was within him. Like, even Choso was like, damn, this motherfucker became super strong after Shibuya. So Yuji lost a lot of his cursed energy manipulation in that fight, so he wasn't able to do that. However, now that Yuji has a domain of his own, he has simple domain, he has all of these different ways of fighting, is the outcome of his fight with Higuruma going to be different? Because remember, even if you want to say Yuji was strong, Yuji fought Higuruma, and if Higuruma didn't have a change of heart at the end of that fight, Yuji probably would have died. That Executioner's Blade would have cut Yuji and killed him on impact. So I think it's safe to say that the battle would probably start almost the exact same. However, Yuji would definitely be acting differently. And here's where things come into play here. Higuruma is always going to start the battle off with his domain expansion, without a doubt. Higuruma has one of the fastest domain expansions of the entire series, rivaling pretty much Mahito's and Gojo's 0.2 domain. We know that Yuji wasn't able to reach Higuruma before. I don't know if Yuji would be able to reach Higuruma before the domain expansion hits. And the problem with Higuruma's domain expansion is that Higuruma's domain expansion forbids any kind of counter attack, counter violence, or any kind of fight going on inside the domain once the trial begins. So you have the options of like Yuji countering with his own domain in time not being a thing, because Higuruma's domain and technique will lay out before Yuji can apply his own domain out there and clash. Probably faster than Yuji can do his own simple domain, and it's even arguable that the simple domain wouldn't work inside of Higuruma's domain expansion. So Yuji is almost guaranteed to be forced inside of the very first trial. Now, the thing with Higuruma's domain expansion is the crime that Judge Man chooses is always going to be different. So with that being said, if the crime is always different, he may not get the pachinko parlor crime, which is what he got the first time. He may get the Shibuya murder crime from the start, but he could also get something different, right? The only reason they were able to trap Sukuna in the retrial was because it was a retrial. They were able to guarantee the trial that they were going to get Sukuna with. There's no way to guarantee what Yuji will be caught with. However, giving Higuruma the benefit of the doubt, the difference with this fight is going to be, now that Yuji has his own curse technique, two of them technically, Yuji's not even going to be down a full arsenal of curse techniques. It might take blood manipulation, it might take dismantle, it might even take the cursed object gauntlets that Yuji is using in the fight. Keep that in mind. Sukuna didn't lose dismantle because Sukuna had Kamutoke with him. So it's completely possible that we know Yuji's gauntlets are a cursed object that he was gifted to by Yuta. So it's completely possible that the cursed object inside of Yuji's gauntlets will just break. You could argue that Yuji's cursed object gauntlets don't necessarily have a technique, so then you could say that it would go to one of Yuji's techniques. But either way, if Yuji doesn't lose all of his techniques, he still has one of them in contact. There's also a really, really good, argument to be made that because Yuji still has connection with one of his cursed techniques, he wouldn't lose, a translation of cursed energy. Because remember, Higuruma says that usually when a sorcerer loses their technique from confiscation, they are unable to use their curse energy by default because they usually are, you know, they have like a connection to their curse technique and curse energy by like a habit of their brain. Whereas Yuji, because he'll still have access to one of his curse techniques, will probably still have access to his cursed energy. So Yuji might not even be nerfed by confiscation. Higuruma's only hope is an executioner's blade on the spot. On the spot. Otherwise, Yuji's not going to be the same person that he was fighting Higuruma hand to hand in that first fight they had previously. He is going to be significantly stronger. Does Yuji have all of his fingers? Yuji will be missing like his pinky and the other finger that he used, that he gave to Yuta so Yuka can learn cleave. So we're not taking the characters from the last time we saw them. If we are, then Higuruma has a reverse curse technique. I see a lot of people talking about the difference between Higuruma, Higuruma with reverse curse technique, Higuruma without reverse curse technique. Technically speaking, if we're having Yuji solo the culling game and stop the culling game, Higuruma would not have unlocked reverse curse technique and domain amplification and things like that. However, I'll be completely honest with you. I think at least the Higuruma that we see by the end of Shinjuku Showdown, it doesn't really make much of a difference, does it, if we give Higuruma reverse curse technique yet? He still hadn't had the time to train and use those abilities reliably in battle. That was Higuruma's main fault in the Shinjuku Showdown, is he didn't have the battle experience to follow through. He was so new. He had the prodigy-like skills to learn all of these abilities, on the fly, but he was not capable of using them, in a great way because he was so new to everything. So I definitely think Final Yuji pretty much low diffs Higuruma. Even if we're talking Higuruma with the Executioner's Blade, I think it's very clear that Higuruma, no matter what way, shape, or form, is gonna get cooked. Honestly, I dare say Higuruma pre-evolution is an insta-win. Higuruma after evolution is probably like a low diff. But like, I just don't see a way that Higuruma would even press a final Yuji. Right? There's just no fucking way at all. Unless we're saying Higuruma fucking gains those abilities while fighting Yuji, which I doubt. Is Wicker Basket OP, or was it just because Suguna was using it? Wicker Basket is basically the ancient equivalent of Simple Domain. You know? It's basically the exact same thing. It's just a different interpretation. Simple Domain just ended up being a different version that ended up becoming more popularized because the heads of the Simple Domain were able to use it to exploit people. Suguna also had the 2 extra arms to amp the output with hand signs. True. But yeah, I don't see Higuruma being a single issue. Like, low diff just because Higuruma has the Executioner's Sword that if it does accidentally make contact with Yuji, it's over. But yeah. Now, when it comes to Hazanoki Iori, I full on just see Hazanoki being one of the curse users that Yuji haunts the nightmares of in their dreams. Right? Like, there's no way, shape, or form that like Hazanoki is doing anything whatsoever. I will say Hazanoki's reverse curse technique is impressive. The way that he's able to pair it with his usage of his curse technique, it really shows you, along with characters like Yorozu, how much work a lot of these older school sorcerers from back in the day put into maximizing their curse technique, like characters like Mei would have. But yeah, like Hazanoki has no domain, has, a cool curse technique, but like it's Yuji's gonna be able to survive almost every single explosion that Hazanoki uses, no matter what body part it is. It wouldn't surprise me if Yuji just walked through every explosion that that Hazanoki did, and Yuji just grabbed Hazanoki by the fucking throat and said, "Are you fucking done, bro?" Slammed him into the ground. Like, Hazanoki has no chance. Hazanoki binding vow to blow himself up like Deidara, how strong do you think that would be? I don't even think that would be enough to kill Yuji. I think that could be pretty fucking OP, but I think just based off of Yuji's pre-existing durability, I mean, like, especially if this is final Yuji with reverse curse technique, even if it just like turned the front of Yuji entirely into a skeleton, Yuji could just heal that shit up. Data equals best character. Honestly, you know what? It's so funny you say that, Oram, because I was just thinking about Naruto the other day and just how much like Datara, the Akatsuki are so cool. Datara was one of my favorite Akatsuki members when Naruto was ongoing, bro. Datara was the shit. Datara just had flair. He had style, bro. No one does it. No one has ever made a character like Datara ever again. I'm telling you. People have tried, but Datara was and still is one of a kind. They're still the best evil group in manga, in my opinion. Yeah, honestly, the Akatsuki go hard. The Akatsuki go hard. From skeleton, not completely skeleton Morningstar. Like, I'm saying, like, let's say if like he gave up his life, because we know giving up your life is an extreme binding vow and really empowers it. I'm saying, like, let's say it's like a massive explosion that Yuji gets caught in the middle of. I'm saying, like, even if like the explosion was so strong it ripped Yuji's skin off, like, let's say like it tore half of his face off, right? Like, we've even literally seen this happen when he fought Mahito, when Mahito was like exposing the bone in Yuji's face. Like, give Yuji reverse curse technique now. If Yuji was to get hit by something like that, I do think he would survive. Yes, I do think Yuji would survive something like that. I don't even think Hazanoki giving up his life would be enough to fully incapacitate Yuji. That's why I'm giving it an insta win. Who knew a loser could be so cool? Not a single 1v1 still is liked. I think Hazanoki's just a cool design and a cool, like, he's a cool additional character. He serves the purpose that he needs to. I don't think Hazanoki needed to do any more than he needed to, you know? He was the perfect side character. Can't ask for anything more. Good to see we back on stream. What up, Mario? How we doing? We got plenty of mods. I love to see the mods. Tengen Uzi's pretty close to Datara. I could see that. Yeah, I could see he's got. Yeah, he definitely. You know what? Honestly, Gray, I'll accept that. I'll accept that. Definitely. I think Tengen Uzui is a pretty close Datara. You know, I like that actually. I like that comparison. Now, as everyone is mentioning, we have up next, we've got Reggie Star, which again, really, really cool design of a character, really cool idea for a curse technique. You know what, when he first appeared in that one scene with his shirt off, I was like, this guy is fucking looks lame as hell. You know what, when he has the receipt cloak on, honestly, he's got that shit on. I don't know what it is. It's like honestly, it's like some Yeezy styled shit. I'm telling you, you know what? He could walk around like that and people would be like, damn, I don't know what it is, but that looks expensive, right? Anyway, Reggie, honestly, for as cool as he is, I again quite literally think, just like Hazanoki, he is no better than like just a grade 1 curse user, very similar to the old man that we just saw in Modulo that had to run for his life from Yuji. Reggie Star would probably be able to, you know, fight Yuji. You know, he would probably get a couple receipts out there. However, as plenty of people are mentioning, there's not really anything that Reggie has at his disposal that is going to even be able to put up a fight against Yuji. If Reggie's throwing a bunch of knives at Yuji, Yuji's probably fast enough to not only dodge all of them, but counterattack faster than Reggie can respond. If, you know, Reggie drops a house or, you know, 2 Mack trucks at Yuji, Yuji could probably fucking punch the Mack trucks and they would shatter and they would break. Like, Yuji just overwhelms Reggie in physical stats entirely. Reggie doesn't have a domain expansion. He doesn't really have any kind of way to counter or do anything against Yuji. Like, I dare say, like, Reggie Star would struggle with regular Culling Game Yuji, right? Like, if roles were reversed and Megami fought Higuruma and Yuji fought Reggie, Yuji would most likely almost guaranteed win. The fight would be a lot closer if it was Culling Game Yuji, right? Like Yuji would probably still struggle a little bit. But if you're giving me final Yuji, it's over. On top of the fact that Reggie, we know for sure, is a reincarnated player, which means even 1-2 punches from Reggie is just, you know, Reggie's vessel is just bleh, spits out his fucking cursed object, and Reggie's literally just like, he's looking like the Kachizu Esso, like the little tiny fucking, you know, alien globs on the floor, dude. And then this guy that Reggie took over is like, why the fuck am I dressed like this? Isn't it crazy that Megami almost lost to this guy? Listen, I will say, at the point that the characters were at in the Culling game, it makes sense why Reggie would be a decent threat, right? Like, Reggie is a strong grade 1 sorcerer. I want to make that very clear. Like, if Reggie, even if Reggie went up against, let's say, Mei, Nanami, Kusakabe, like, it would be, Nanami might be a little bit, Reggie's not beating Nanami. I don't know if Reggie's beating Nanami. Nanami would struggle, but I think Nanami would win. I don't even think Nanami would struggle, actually, to take that back. I think Nanami and Reggie would have like a mid-diff fight. I think Nanami, I personally would probably put Nanami over Reggie. But either way, I don't think Reggie's surviving a single Mei Crow. I mean, listen, even Sukuna dodged the Mei Crow. Listen. So when it comes down to it, I think Reggie, of all people, I think, again, pre-Culling game, it makes sense why Reggie was a formidable foe. But I mean, even compared to the other Culling game players, right? Like he falls short. Reggie might be one of the, Reggie and Hazanoki are the lowest level duo here. Lowest level duo here. People downplay Megami so much. I agree, Dazkaz. I think Megami, even without Maharaga, has crazy potential. Look, listen, there's a reason why Toji grabbed Megami over Nanami, Naobito, and Maki, okay? Just how strong was she really? Mei was very strong. I have a video. So I do have a video. I don't know if you've seen it. It dropped a couple years back, so it's not completely up to date info. But I will say, like, besides like Kusakabe's placing, because now we know he's technically the strongest grade 1. I would personally probably still put Nanami over Kusakabe in my. Actually, you know what? Kusakabe with that simple domain kind of go hard. I don't think Nanami would be able to do anything. Actually, Kusakabe probably is stronger than Nanami. But either way, like Mei is pretty up there. It's pretty up there. This is also still a really fun video too. So if you're looking for something, if you're bored, you want something to watch after stream, definitely check this video out. On top of that, if we're talking about videos to watch, you know, guys, I mean, like, only the strongest dare to change. I think this was a really fun video that I did, fully unscripted, just you and me having a fun conversation. Yeah, check out the channel if you're looking for, you know, anything good to watch. There's probably, you know, how strong modulo Yuji could be. There's plenty of fun videos, you know. But anyway, I think Reggie's an insta win when it comes to final Yuji. Thank you, Tiberius said, GOAT content creator. Thank you. Megami could have pretty handily been a special grade if he had the Sigma Male grind set. I think Megami is going to be a really strong grade 1 by the end of the series. I wanted one stream that I really want to do soon too, is I want to do the new top 10, like the top 10 sorcerers by the end, like the final top 10 of people that are still alive. I want to do that stream one day. I think that stream would be a lot of fun. Missed the old JJK leak streams. I know. Maybe Modulo's hype will start building up more and I'll start doing more Modulo streams, you know? But anyway, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. It really helps the stream way more than you know. I really love hanging out with all the old heads, all the people that have been here for such a long time. Jujutsu Kaisen is what brings us together, and hopefully Modulo will start to bring us back together more and more, right, guys? But yeah, guys, hit that like button if you haven't already. I love hanging out with you guys, and I'm happy to be doing streams like this again. Let's move on, because look, the range of enemy. Kusakabe versus Naobito, who wins? Probably Kusakabe. Kusakabe just wouldn't have to, Naobito wouldn't even be able to get close. I mean, maybe Naobito with projection sorcery. If you think about it, Kusakabe has to throw a slash and then immediately Naobito could freeze him. I'd probably put Naobito, but let's do that to a poll. I'm honestly curious what all of you guys think. But actually, now that I think about it, Naobito probably has got that shit in the bag. Anyway, who wins, Naobito or Kusakabe? Put your vote into the poll. And now let's get into some of the stronger Culling Game players here. Because again, Megami and Yuji really got off kind of lucky with their level of enemy. Because again, the moment you step into the rest of the colonies, things level up tremendously. Dhruv Lakdawala. Now this guy, we didn't really see much of him in Sendai Colony or the manga whatsoever, specifically because Yuta slashes through him and that's all we see. However, I will say Dhruv's curse technique is extremely powerful and a lot of people don't realize why. So the way that Dhruv and his curse technique work, specifically with the way that Yuta is able to use it. Yuta is able to use Dhruv's curse technique by creating Shikigami with his hair as a medium. Those Shikigami then begin to orbit and create a domain, a quote-unquote domain around whatever they're circling. So the way that Yuta uses it is he uses those small Shikigami to basically encircle the foe and then start slashing attacks in the middle of that domain, because everything inside of that domain Yuta has control over and can attack. Now, the full-scale curse technique of Dhruv Lakdawala, especially with how set up he was in Sendai Colony, because most people don't understand this guy got no diffed by Yuta. This guy got easily just completely destroyed, no problem. It's not the case. Dhruv Lakdawala was strong enough to put Kurorushi, Oro, and Ishigori in a deadlock. Remember that. You have to remember that. Akutami didn't show us the fight. However, Ishigori even mentions that it was taking everything he could to slowly sneak up on Dhruv without getting caught. Because again, if we are to take Yuta's version of the technique that he copies, what Dhruv basically does is he sends his two guinea pigs and all of his crow, bird, pterodactyl Shikigami out. And as is described, the further those guinea pigs get out and the further those birds spread, just as Yuta shows, the further his quote-unquote domain expands. So everything that, so they basically create a large diameter where Dhruv basically controls everything in that diameter, and he can send all of his Shikigami to basically just mass attack whatever is inside of that domain. So essentially why Ishigori and Oro were unable to get close to Dhruv was because the moment you step into his territory, he locks onto you and he can basically send all of his Shikigami at you at once. Essentially, the only way that you're able to get through and the way that Yuta was able to get through is by literally pushing through to the best of your ability and then just literally cutting through the source. So essentially, Yuji, just like Yuta, should be able to brute force Dhruv. Now, why did I go through that entire explanation just to say that Yuji was able to brute force and do the same thing that Yuta did? I just, want to make sure we all understand that Dhruv, as a pillar of Sendai Colony that was literally locked in a deadlock with the three other strongest characters in that colony, Dhruv was a very strong character, right? Yuji's soul punches are definitely going to have a much larger effect on a character like Dhruv because he is for sure a reincarnated player, which means Yuji and his dismantle and everything like that should be able to strike through and break the hold Dhruv has on his vessel. So that's very clear. again, Yuji can also just domain expansion and just immediately, you know, fight back. So I want to make it very clear. I do think Yuji wins this fight. However, I wouldn't even say that Yuta performed a low diff. I would just say mid diff, just because this does require Yuji essentially being able to tank all of the damage that Druv is throwing at him while Yuji works his way, fights his way through the entire territory that Druv has set up, and then once he gets close to Druv, has to fight Druv himself. So while I don't think, well, I just want to make it very clear that like Yuji wins this fight. Yuji definitely wins this fight. But again, unfortunately, we just don't have. Why didn't Ryu do that? If it was so easy, that's the thing. Is it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. You also have to remember that. You also have to remember, Elro too, that the way that Sendai Colony was set up was the moment that Ishigori and Druv started fighting, Oro and Kurarushi were immediately going to jump in and take advantage of, one, whoever won the fight and got exhausted after that, and two, they could have interfered and immediately taken advantage of the conflict. The reason why Druv, Ishigori, and Oro and Kurarushi didn't do shit until Yuta showed up is because no one wanted to get put in that position that they would have gotten cooked. If it was literally just Ishigori and Druv in Sendai Colony, and it was just Ishigori knew, okay, I just have to kill Druv and then I'm number one in the colony, no problem. But Ishigori had to literally take into account that there's two other people in here, you know what I mean, that could also cook me mid-fight. If I use my domain, kill, and again, Ishigori knew there's no guarantee Druv, you know, Ishigori would low diff Druv either. Again, Druv was strong enough to where Ishigori, Oro, and Kurarushi knew that the fight would be stressful enough that they wouldn't be at their 100% for the other two characters in the colony. Yuji would need to waste a lot of curse energy for RCT to survive Drew's slashes. 110%. I definitely agree. That's why I think it would be a mid-diff fight. I definitely think Yuji would be able to win. However, I think Yuji, by the end of it, would be severely damaged and would be at a disadvantage against any of the other characters that he's fighting. Now, in a gauntlet, not good, right? In a gauntlet, not good at all, because if he is severely exhausted after fighting Druv, it takes a lot of damage, loses a lot of his cursed energy stock from reverse curse techniquing and healing so often. Whoever strikes him after Druv is going to fuck him up significantly. So I do want to take that into account, because like I did with the Yuji versus Upper Moons stream, I want to make it very clear that there's basically two versions that we can go with. We have the Yuji is just fighting, you know, one-on-one. He can do anything he possibly needs to win. And then we also have Yuji is actually fighting all of the culling game in a single gauntlet, which means he only has about one domain a day, potentially. Because remember, you have characters, sure, like Sukuna, Gojo, and Kenjaku, that after their curse technique cooldown goes away, not only do they regain their curse technique, they can probably domain again. But most people, especially probably Yuji, are only going to be able to domain one time a day. Is there a rest period between fights? Potentially. There could potentially be a rest period between colonies. There's definitely multiple ways that you could look at this. So right now we haven't really ran into that issue. However, after Druv is where we really will get into a lot of issues. Because again, even if we are giving him a rest after every colony, after fighting Druv, he's going to be significantly at a disadvantage. Giving the benefit of the doubt that the story goes exactly the same, Kurarushi is going to be up next to fight Yuji. I will say, and I will give Yuji this, Yuji's Black Flash is a way, as we mentioned earlier, to regain cursed energy. So technically speaking, Yuji does have a way to regain stamina, regain the ability to reverse curse technique. He simply needs to gain the zone, hit a Black Flash. Now that's not a guarantee because again, he can't guaranteed hit Black Flash. He very most likely will hit a Black Flash, but it's not a guarantee. Again, you have to remember Yuji had multiple fights where he did not hit a Black Flash in between. Yuji did not hit a Black Flash from Mahito in Shibuya until Sukuna in Shinjuku. He fought Helicopter Guy, he fought Higuruma, he fought the military. Yuji does not, again, he has the highest percentage rate, but there's not a guaranteed way. Yuji has ways to recover, but we ain't going to explore that, I guess. I mean, it comes down to stamina, right? Like, Yuji has cursed. The only way that Yuji can recover, I mean, I guess you could say, sure, he's going to eat. Maybe he eats Drew's cursed object to, like, that's actually a really cool, significant strategy. Like, if Yuji was just, every time Yuji mollywopped a culling game player, like, he was eating the cursed object that they spit up. Like, Yuji steals Hazanoki and Reggie's cursed object and eats them, potentially gains some of their power, strength, and gets like a rehash. But anyway, being for real, cursed objects increases cursed energy. Yeah, for Yuji it does. Yuji is a very special case when it comes to that, but every time Yuji eats a cursed object, because his vessel is meant to withhold Sukuna, meant to withhold thing, Yuji's will basically overrides the cursed object entirely, and it just becomes accumulated cursed energy from that. It's explained that's why he ate all of the death paintings before Shinjuku Showdown, right? He ate all of the death paintings not just to help with blood manipulation, but also to just gain all of the cursed energy from that. Right, but again, even though he increased that cursed energy, he's still nowhere near Yuta's level of cursed energy by the end of the series, and Yuta can, I don't even know if Yuta can domain twice. I think Yuta can domain twice, if that, and Yuta himself is not even sure if he can domain twice, right? Like, you have to remember, you know, Sukuna was only even able to domain three or so times before he had to start breaking his brain like Gojo did. You know, that's also important to remember. I think Sukuna uses his domain like 3 times, maybe 4 times, before he has to start breaking his brain to reset his curse technique cooldown. So again, Sukuna, who was way above Yuta, and Yuji, who hasn't even reached Yuta's total curse energy yet, was only doing about 3 times, and Yuta wasn't even sure if he'd be able to do 2. So yeah, either way, we're getting lost in the sauce here. So give or take, we have an exhausted Yuji, or if we give Yuji the ability to use things like, you know, Black Flash to regain stamina, Yuji versus Kurorushi is definitely a significant change in battle for Yuji. The thing is, though, is Kurorushi is actually a really, really bad matchup for Yuji. Kurorushi is a significant problem because Kurorushi is so easily able to fight Yuji from afar. The main body doesn't even have to worry about getting hit, and on top of that, even if the main body does get hit, if Yuji doesn't erase every single cockroach in the entire area, then Kurorushi can just get reborn through parthenogenesis. Remember, Yuta was only able to just easily no-diff Kurorushi because Yuta was able to output reverse curse technique. Yuji cannot output reverse curse technique, so Yuji needs to exercise Kurorushi the hard way. And if you remember the disaster curses, you'll know even if Yuji is black flashing through Kurorushi's skull is just instantly gonna regenerate and heal. And again, on top of that, even if Yuji does manage to exercise the first Kurorushi, not for nothing, Kurorushi can just parthenogenesis and win. Yuji would clear him with a domain. That's the issue, though, Tiberius. Yuji almost would have to guaranteed use domain here to win. And the problem is, even if Yuji domained, there's not even a guarantee Yuji gets all of the roaches. Yuji would have to 110%, what up, Senna, how you doing? Would have to 100% catch every single roach with cursed energy with the domain expansion. And if he doesn't, cooked. Dismantle takes down Kuro mid-diff. I don't understand why Dismantle would take down Kuro. I mean, first of all, Yuji has to touch with Dismantle, and the moment that Yuji gets close to Kurorushi, if Yuji is getting completely surrounded by cockroaches, he's gonna get devoured. He's gonna get completely devoured. The cursed energy fueled roaches completely turned that one dude into a skeleton in fucking no time at all. Yuji sure has reverse curse technique, so he can kind of fight against the roaches as they go in, but again, Yuta was even very fearful of getting hit and getting overwhelmed by the cursed energy roaches. He had to literally empower his sword and area of effect slash all of the roaches away from him, otherwise he was gonna get cooked. And the problem is, Yuji's not gonna be able to do the exact same thing that Yuta did in that fight. The tiny roaches are a huge problem for Yuji. Yuji can't launch dismantles. No, Yuji can't launch dismantles. Yuji does not have cleave. It's very important to remember, Yuji has dismantle. That's it. Yuji, by the end of the series, Yuji has not learned cleave. Yuji has not learned, any of that. Like, Yuji has dismantle, and Yuji's dismantle is specifically the physical contact dismantle, where he needs to trace the scissor line and then cut, because that's how Yuji's brain interprets the dismantle curse technique. Yuji's able to use a binding vow to then upgrade that dismantle to then actually start attacking the boundaries of the soul. But I feel like a lot of people do think that Yuji's just able to projectile slash like Sukuna can, and this is not the case. Keep in mind, yeah, Yuta held back massively against Kurorushi. That's definitely important to note. Yuta did hold back massively, but in a sense that Yuta held back in that he didn't want to reveal that he had reverse curse technique to Oro and Ishigori, who were watching the fight. Kuro is actually scary as fuck. Domain is the only real win con completely, and again, Domain isn't even a win con, because even if Yuji domains, unless he gets every single roach in the area, Kurorushi can just be reborn through parthenogenesis. So we're saying the bug survives 20 black flashes by Yuji. Got it. I mean, the thing is if Yuji, I don't know if Yuji's hitting 20 black flashes on Kurorushi. The bugs won't do that much because they wouldn't land. Yuji would be dodging them. I'm sorry. Yuji would be dodging the roaches. Do we remember? I feel like you guys are you guys trolling me? You guys remember what this fight with Kurorushi was looking like when Yuta they fucking devoured this dude in 2 seconds. Nah, okay, hold on. We're trolling, right? We said Yuji's dodging. Yuji's dodging. Nah, no worries, bro. Don't worry, Yuji's dodging it. Yuji's dodging this. Look at this man. They're in his body. They're fucking flying out of his fucking skull. They're in every orifice. Like, even Yuta's like, oh, fucking shit, bro. Are these cockroaches real? Each one has cursed energy and they're reinforced. A single one is no problem, but a swarm poses a serious threat. Even Yuta's like, dude, I'm gonna get cooked if I don't erase that completely. And again, Yuta takes his sword and outputs the cursed energy. I don't know if Yuji's doing something like that. All it takes is one torrent of cockroaches, and sure, Yuji's fast. Yuji can definitely run away, but I think that's all Yuji's gonna be doing. Comparing a rando to Yuji, I mean, that's not the point. Like, Yuji's much more durable, right? But you have to understand that, like, if Kurorushi just wants to completely swarm Yuji in cockroaches, and again, it's not really comparing a rando. Even Yuta admits that the cockroaches are extremely dangerous. Even Yuta right here is like, bro, this is a serious threat. Like, don't take it from me. Take it from the special grade sorcerer right here. You know? That's because he's holding back with no curse technique. Right, but the holding back would just because Yuta's holding so Yuta is wait. So Yuta's holding back, so he's lying to the audience in his own inner monologue. Yuta's like, I have to lie so well that I have to trick myself. These cockroaches aren't a threat at all, but I need to pretend that they are. Yeah, I don't see it. If Yuta isn't speed blitzing it, then Yuji's not. 4D trolling indeed. Yuta demolished the bugs with a positive output. Yuji's gonna punch the swarm? Hell no, yeah. Would almost reverberate through Kuro and at least weaken him by killed off a majority of him. Yes, 110%. Like 110%. I'm not saying that Yuji wouldn't be able to destroy Kurorushi. But are we also forgetting that Kurorushi can just regenerate? Kurorushi can just regenerate, right? Like, Kurorushi can just come back. Kurorushi can just completely come back. Yuji should be able to dodge rain in that case. HS, I love you. You get the fucking message of the day, bro. That's the funniest shit. He said bro should be able to dodge rain then. Yeah, I'm telling you. And then again, like, hold on, is it chapter 178? $179. Like, on top of that, again, you have the fact that he can just reincarnate. Before going dormant, Kurorushi had reproduced by parthenogenesis. After the parents' exorcism, the cursed energy of fear throughout Japan was once more poured into the child. Even if Kurorushi, the player, had died, Kurorushi, the cursed spirit, would still be going strong. So, like, again, like, this specifically tells us that, like, the fear of cockroaches are quite literally so strong that Kurorushi was reborn almost instantly, which is why I'm saying that, like, even if Yuji black flashes Kurorushi to oblivion, even if Yuji domain expansions Kurorushi, unless he kills every cursed energy cockroach in the entire city and the entire colony of Sendai, he's cooked. Let's not forget Kuro did it just by consuming one single person, literally. On God, the Roach is a worse matchup for Yuji than any disaster curse. Exactly. That's really what it comes down to, is like Kurorushi is just a bad matchup. Just a extremely bad matchup. Are you giving Yuji Choso's blood manipulation techniques if your blood manipulation can handle the swarm? Yuji isn't summoning torrents of blood, no. Yuji by the end of the series can't even use convergence, so no, we're at best Yuji's blood manipulation is good for like helping him with his reverse curse technique, reattaching his limbs, maybe hardening his skin so the roaches don't completely run through it, but like Kurorushi's just a really, really bad matchup for that, and I really just don't see any way. I really don't see any way for Yuji to win. I wouldn't say insta loss, but definitely loss. I don't see Yuji losing to Kuro. I don't see Yuji winning, honestly. I think Yuji wins personally. Again, again, the thing is like, even if you want to say domain is a win condition, if Yuji win cons, if Yuji domains and he doesn't take out all of the roaches in the domain, which most likely, again, Yuji's not gonna know that Kurarushi can just get reborn, then Yuji uses his domain, gets put in cooldown, and then Kurarushi comes back and then eats the person that killed its parent. And then Kurarushi just then has full reign over Yuji that can't even use any of his curse techniques or the way that he was able to win. Like, it's really tough for me to see a reality where Yuji is actually able to successfully just stop Kurarushi completely. Why didn't Kurarushi reincarnate after Yuta downed him? I mean, again, like, I'm not saying that, like, Kurarushi just reincarnates endlessly and there's no way to ever stop Kurarushi ever, but we know for a fact there was at least enough fear and curse and negative energy in regards to Kurarushi for it to reincarnate one time. So that's what I'm saying. If Yuji's win condition that we're going with is domain expansion, and Yuji domains to kill the first Kurarushi, there's no guarantee that Yuji's gonna kill the second Kurarushi. So I'm not, that's the whole point, is the idea that if Yuji doesn't kill all of the roaches the first time, Yuji's gonna be in curse technique cooldown, no domain, and Kurarushi's gonna cook him. You know? It has nothing to do with Kurarushi just reincarnating endlessly. Kurarushi only needs to come back once. You know, that's really what it comes down to. If he comes back once, fights a Yuji that is in curse technique cooldown that can't use a domain expansion anymore, tough. We're giving Kuro's regeneration ultra charity. I mean, not really. We're giving Kurarushi exactly what happened in the manga. I don't see how that's ultra charity, right? We're quite literally giving Kurarushi what happened in the manga. Yuta didn't fight a billion roaches. I didn't say Yuji fought a billion roaches. Yuta fought definitely enough roaches to consider them a serious enough threat that he would have to get rid of them. So yeah, I think it's just very clear. Rika couldn't even kill all of the roaches, and that was fully manifested amped Rika. Thank you, 110%. I completely agree. I completely agree. If Kuro can't reincarnate endlessly, then Yuji wins with massive damage. I just don't see how Yuji wins when he's in cooldown and no domain. If we're saying Yuji needs domain to win, he can't win the second time around. That's really what it comes down to. That's the toughest part. Twice even on cooldown. I just don't think the second Kurarushi even needs to go anywhere near Yuji. You also have to remember Kurarushi also has the festering life sword, right? You also have the festering life sword, which is a significant issue. Yuta gets hit with the festering life sword and it's a main issue. Like, again, you also, like, Yuta is now caught in an entire mass tornado of cockroaches, right? The only way he stops it is he uses his sword and kicks up a tornado of water with his sword. The Kurarushi summons Shikigami that are all fighting him. Kurarushi's then throwing his hands. Like, it's not even like it's a 1v1. Even Yuta, who's a special grade, and Yuta is probably going to be able to beat Yuji. Even Yuta struggled with Kurarushi because he couldn't just instantly output RCT him. So we have to compare this Yuta's performance to how Yuji would be performing as well, right? Kuro can literally just perma-spawn them. Even Yuta lost when he couldn't use his reverse curse technique. I think that's very, very important. Like, I think a lot of people are just, like, forgetting that Yuta was struggling massively with Kurarushi without able to just one-shot him, and Yuji can't just one-shot him. But no, it's okay. I mean, we're just getting, you know, we're getting stun-locked. We're just repeating ourselves multiple times, you know. So, you know, it's either something that you either agree with or you don't. I think it's a good poll, actually. I think it's actually a really good poll. It comes down to how many times you think Kurorushi can come back. I mean, I guess I personally don't think that at all. I don't think it. I think Kurorushi only needs to come back once to be able to have a really good win. But I can understand what everyone else is kind of. I can kind of understand what everyone else is saying. But I just think it's tough. I think Kurorushi is just a bad matchup. Just a bad matchup. I just don't think Yuji has anything area of effect enough to hold a chance. That's really what it comes down to for me. Yuta didn't get dropped by him. I mean, again, Yuta literally was about to lose if he didn't output reverse curse technique. Like, I also think it's very important. Like, if Yuta didn't RCT at the end here, he would have lost. He would have gotten eaten. If Yuta wasn't willing to fucking clap some cockroach cheeks, he was cooked here. Yuji wouldn't get put in that position. Okay, it's fine. I mean, if you say so. We're just gonna go back and forth, man. Kurorushi, I think, is a very tough matchup. I think also, not for nothing, if we're arguing that like this is like Gauntlet Yuji, and this is a Yuji that just had to fight Druve, I think the options are even more likely for Kurorushi to win. But I think definitely we got to see if Yuji's the better kisser. Now that's the real determination here. Let's not forget, this is also one of the guys Ryu and Oro didn't want to fight. Yeah, no, I definitely think it's a it comes down to interpretation completely. Comes down to interpretation completely. Blood manipulation RCT is so efficient. Yuji was fucking falling over to his knees and coughing because he couldn't complete and he needed Choso to rub his back. give him a warm milky. So that being said, after Kurorushi, I mean it's 50-50 in the poll right now, which is kind of crazy. 28 votes, 50-50. As close as hell. Loss high diff, either way, we already know it's a tough fight. Either way, we already know it's a tough fight. I personally think it's a loss. No disrespect, no disrespect ever to anybody. I'm always it's all just jokes. It's all, like Tiberius said, it's all, friendly discussion. It's all friendly debate. So that's what makes it fun. Sometimes we start throwing, sometimes we start slanging some shit. It's all love. Thank you I appreciate the love and support. I always say it all the time, I appreciate anyone that takes a second out of their day to watch me, because, goddamn. Sometimes I'm insufferable. I'm just kidding. Let's move on here. Now, if we're talking specifically... bad matchups, Oro is, once again, in my opinion, another bad matchup for Yuji. However, Yuji does have a lot of things that give him the advantage against Oro. For one, Yuji's soul punches are actually going to be significantly effective against a character like Oro and Ishigori, where Yuji doesn't get that advantage against Kurorushi with his soul punches. Yuji will get the advantage against the Culling Game players, Oro and Ishigori, because he can literally pop the cursed object out of their bodies and end their connection with their vessels. So that is a serious issue. However, when it comes down to it, Oro does have counters to Yuji's counters. For one, Yuji's domain expansion could get countered and clashed with Oro's domain expansion. We don't know what Oro's domain expansion is and what its innate technique is. However, we know it's enough that would be able to clash with Yuji, so that way a domain isn't an instant win con. We know Oro is able to I don't think Oro ever showed reverse curse technique, so she may not be able to heal. Yuji does have that advantage over her. And of course, if Yuji's able to hit her enough times with the soul dismantle, that's a really, really good victory condition for him. However, where Oro is able to win a little bit on the matchup is sky manipulation. Now, sky manipulation is a serious issue for Yuji simply because as long as Oro just continually bends space as we see Oro do it with Yuta, Yuji might never be able to make contact with Oro, which is a big issue. And like I said before, we definitely cannot say that Yuji is just instantly, you know, outspeeding characters like Oro and Ishigori simply because characters like, you know, Yuta weren't getting, can she sky manipulate a punch? 110% right here. So it's not necessarily that Yuji's gonna get, you know, speed blitz Oro so fast that she's not able to manipulate the sky, right? Oro is definitely gonna be able to keep up and manipulate and bend the surface and bend everything together so that Yuji doesn't ever touch her. So a lot of people are already saying it, but the main issue is going to be as Oro may not have the attack output that is actually enough to damage Yuji and critically damage him enough where reverse curse technique isn't going to be an option. On top of that, her answer to that is Thin Ice Missile, which we do see her use to be a significant damaging battle here, because even Yuta is surprised that Oro is able to cause such a level of destruction with Thin Ice Missile here. It is on a level that is at least capable of destroying a building, if not more so. There's a reason why Oro is able to put up a decent fight against a special grade like Yuta Okotsu. So while I don't think Oro is just like one-tapping Yuji or like two-tapping Yuji, I definitely think Oro is capable of harming Yuji to a significant degree. Oro's durability is notably worse than Yuta's as well. Yeah, I would definitely say that Oro, when it comes to durability, is much lower than Yuji. Oro, when it comes to actual physical stats, is going to be ranking lower, in my opinion. Again, Oro's main benefit in this fight is her curse technique's advantage over just plain hand-to-hand melee combat. And the fact that Oro can fight, you know, somewhat long range, fight somewhat Thin Ice Missile. And on top of that, if you want to say this is a 1v1, sure, Yuji has a worse advantage. In Sendai Colony itself, Yuji's probably going to have the benefit of having Ishigori interfere with the fight, which does give Yuji a little bit of a benefit to maybe have some kind of help against Oro. But back and forth 1v1, I probably think Yuji probably would win still. To be completely honest with you, I just think it would be a very high diff fight. Excuse me. I think Yuji would probably beat Oro, but I think it would just be probably the hardest fight he's had so far. I just don't know how long Oro would be able to keep sky manipulation up for when it comes to the way that Yuji's able to, one, use the environment to his advantage in fights. We see him do this as far back as the exchange event when he's fighting against Todo. He's flipping around trees, you know, using the environment to his advantage. He even does this against Sukuna when Sukuna takes over Megami. He is completely destroying the city around him as he's fighting and using the debris to kick at Sukuna and using different things to enshroud his attacks. Yuji fights completely different than Yuta does, where Yuta is literally just straight up throwing hands. Yuji is known to cause significant damage to the environment and fight. And again, you got it again. While fighting against Kurarushi, those tactics don't necessarily benefit him. It will benefit him against someone like Oro, whose only defense against Yuji's punches is just hoping she can just fucking bend the surface the right way enough times, because Yuji's gonna be able to find a way to get around that. We've even seen Yuji multiple times throw rocks imbued with cursed energy to trip people up. She does survive an unguarded barrage from Rika and Yuta with his gauntlet, and then later a granite blast and blasted off half of Kurorushi's body, then her domain. Oro, I definitely think, can take a beating, for sure. However, it's very clear that Oro does not have reverse curse technique on a level, and if she did, it's nowhere near the same level that Yuji would. And I think Yuji's reverse curse technique definitely gives him the advantage where he would be able to last long enough to get one over on Oro. He only needs to stun lock her one time, and then he can get a really good soul dismantle, really good punch, anything on her. And I definitely think if it came down to it where Yuji used the domain, Oro used the domain, and then both of them were locked in a neutral domain with no innate techniques, and it just came down to straight up hands, Yuji could definitely win that. So while I think Oro is a very tough fight for Yuji to win, I definitely think Yuji has more win conditions than Oro does, in my opinion. Yuji's soul stuff is a humongous issue, and again, if they domain clash and they have to fight without techniques, Yuji has the advantage completely. Thin Ice Missile definitely puts in work and could cause Yuji a significant amount of damage, but again, you have to remember, Yuji can heal, Oro can't. I think in a battle of attrition, Yuji should be able to come out on top. She might have domain refinement over Yuji since he's only used domain once. I don't know about that. Because even Megami, when going up against Dagon, was at least able to domain clash long enough to push the innate technique off. Sure, he had to like struggle and maintain the domain, but I think we can give Yuji enough. I think we can give Yuji enough grace to say that he can at least domain clash. It's clear Yuji wins, not gonna lie. I don't think so. I don't think it's clear at all. I think it's a very tough fight for Yuji. Yoro definitely is a significantly dangerous threat just based off of sky manipulation. What up, Canary? How we doing? Happy to see you. Up next, we've got Ishigori Ryu. And sheesh, man. Ishigori Ryu just comes down to plain old hand-to-hand combat and using his cursed energy output with Granite Blast to cause as much damage to Yuji as possible. However, unfortunately, as many people have said, I definitely think Ishigori is a little bit easier for Yuji to fight, just because unlike Oro with sky manipulation, Ishigori is going to have to get up close and personal with Yuji. And even if Ishigori tries to not get up close and personal with Yuji, even if he does the Granite Blast, he does the split volley Granite Blast, we saw Yuta be able to run through the city, dodge all those beams, and get right up close and personal to Ishigori. So it's very clear to me that Yuji would be able to do the exact same thing. And with Yuji carrying all of that soul boundary punching attacks inside of his punches, his attacks, his soul dismantle ability, and I don't even think this battle would come down to domain expansion, personally. Like, I even struggled to put Ishigori in mid diff. I would even honestly say Ishigori might be low diff just because of the advantage Yuji has. I just think Ishigori is just a plain old bad matchup. Hard countered indeed, yeah. And I think, I think if Yuji didn't have soul punches, then yeah, mid diff completely. But with the advantage Yuji has with the soul, with the soul against reincarnated players, cooked. I just don't think Ishigori has a chance. Ain't no way this man's a low diff. He hits so much harder than Higuruma. The difference is Higuruma isn't a reincarnated player, so Yuji doesn't get the soul advantage. Yuji's soul advantage means he doesn't even have to fight Ishigori fully through. He doesn't have to bring Ishigori to exhaustion and kill him. Yuji just has to do enough damage to him that his cursed object can't maintain the connection with the vessel. And again, Yuji gets Sukuna to throw up his fingers multiple times in the fight. And most people aren't going to have the advantage that Sukuna did with having multiple cursed objects maintaining their vessel inside. Sukuna had multiple fingers inside of Megami to maintain his vessel. These incarnated players are only going to have one object. Yuji might not even get hit with a blast because he's so fast. 110%. I completely agree. Like, again, Yuta was literally running through the town and dodging every single granite blast that came his way. Did I say something pause-worthy? Oh my god. But yeah, I think Ishigori is just, again, the Sendai Colony counters are all over the place. Do you think Yuji's dismantles can cut Ishigori? I think his soul dismantles 100% would be able to. Because they trace the outline of the soul, without a doubt. And again, most of these incarnated players are going to have even worse of a time connecting to their vessel than Megami did. So, Sendai Colony is honestly a very weird spread. Like, many people are even saying that, like, this doesn't make sense, this is weird. The fact that, like, Ishigori is the easiest of Sendai Colony for final Yuji. Druve is mid-diff because of a better long-range fight than Ishigori has. Oro is high diff because of sky manipulation. And then, again, I know we're currently, you know, right now out of the poll, we have Yuji over Kurorushi, but personally, I just don't see it. Personally, I just don't see it. Regardless of where you think Kurorushi or any of these characters sit on the high, mid, low diff scale or whatever, if this is a gauntlet style setting where we're saying Yuji has to go through every colony one by one and clean it up, there is absolutely no way there's absolutely no way Yuji's gonna be able to clear Sendai Colony in one go. There is just no fucking way possible. Just no possible way. Just no possible way. Because again, if we're giving Yuji one domain expansion, he's gonna need it for more people. We're overestimating the damage he's taking? I don't think so. I don't think we're overestimating this whatsoever. And then we've got Kashimo coming up very much next. Yuji loses almost every other match. Oh my god. Is this saying Yuji low diffs Ryu? 110%. So Yuji versus Kashimo, if we're saying this is a full-on fight, oh man. Because the thing is with Kashimo is Kashimo's got his electric cursed energy property. Are we considering he gets no time to rest and recover after every match? When we're doing gauntlet style, what we were doing is we're giving him a time to rest between colonies. So technically speaking, between Tokyo Colony 1, Higuruma, he would have been able to rest before Reggie and Hazanoki, and then after Reggie and Hazanoki, he would rest before Sendai Colony. But he would have to do every colony in one go. So he would have to take Sendai Colony down the same way Yuta would, and it's just not gonna happen, unfortunately. Yuji would not be able to clear through Sendai Colony in one go, unfortunately. But when it comes to jumping back to Tokyo Colony 2 with Kashimo, well, I guess technically Tokyo Colony 1 is all one colony, right? Higuruma, Reggie, and Hazanoki are all one colony, but that doesn't really matter. They're all easy wins for final Yuji. Doesn't really matter, even if he doesn't rest between these two characters. I forgot they're all technically the same colony. Because of sky manipulation, Lilos. Sky manipulation is a much better counter for hand-to-hand close quarters combat than anything Ishigori has to offer. Your Oro is just a better matchup compared to Ishigori, who again is just gonna get knocked clean by the soul punches and soul dismantle. We're gonna ignore the fact he hits the soul. We've talked about that. We just talked about that. We have been talking about that. I'm sorry, Tato. I think you just popped in. But yeah, no, we are giving Yuji his soul damage, which gives him a huge advantage. Either way, when it comes to Kashimo, Kashimo is not only going to be a better hand-to-hand merchant when it comes down to, like, if we're coming one-to-one swinging hands back and forth, like if Kashimo and Ishigori are throwing hands with Yuji, I think Kashimo has a much better chance to throw hands, even though he suffers from the same downside of the soul punches, soul dismantles. Because again, if Kashimo does get brought into a melee, he's at the same threat and risk that Ishigori is. However, the difference is Kashimo can quite literally, if Kashimo gets a hit on Yuji compared to Ishigori, Kashimo can stun Yuji with the electric property of his cursed energy. And if Yuji gets hit one time by Kashimo, Kashimo can then use the lightning discharge guaranteed to hit attack on Yuji. And that's a significant major problem. Now, Yuji is faster than Hikari. Would Yuji be able to move an inch and stop a lethal blow just like Hikari did? Possibly, but that also depends on where the lightning strikes. If Yuji loses a full fucking chest and arm, poof. If Yuji loses a full chest and arm, Yuji with reverse curse technique might be able to bring that back. I don't know if he'd be able to bring it back instantly, because Hikari's auto reverse curse technique is so much better than Yuji's reverse curse technique. Hikari's auto reverse curse technique is the absolute best in the series. Do you think Yuji would resist Kashimo's electricity property? So the reason why I think Kashimo's electricity property would affect Yuji is because Hikari's rough cursed energy property affected Yuji. So you could make the argument. I wouldn't honestly, I wouldn't argue too hard that Yuji would just endure and kind of like feel like, oh, I feel the tingle, kind of like Hikari did. However, also at the same time, you have to remember that Hikari also had his own cursed energy property. And while it's not directly confirmed, you know, you could argue technically that Hikari's cursed energy property was canceling Kashimo's cursed energy property out. So Kashimo definitely has a much better win con than Ishigori does, because again, Granite Blast, tough to hit Yuji. If Kashimo gets one hit on Yuji and then runs away and fucking lightning blasts Yuji, if that's a lethal wound, that's a one-hit KO or a one-hit incapacitation, because no matter what you say Yuji's reverse curse technique levels are, if he gets a full limb or important part of his body just outright vaporized and eradicated by a lightning bolt, that's not coming back. And if it is coming back, that's taking almost all of his cursed energy to do so. No, that wasn't the reason. Hikari just had too much cursed energy and couldn't feel the stun. That's also a good possibility too, Morningstar. But I think it's also directly important to mention that both the characters that were fighting each other both had cursed energy properties. How much is Yuji's soul stuff affecting Kashimo? The exact same amount as it would be affecting Ishigori. The difference is that Kashimo has the potential to, is one, a better hand-to-hand merchant and has a way to stun Yuji, and also has a way to, one, not come close. He can fight Yuji with his rod, so he doesn't have to use his direct hands. So I think Kashimo has a better chance. Now, if we're saying Kashimo isn't using his full curse technique, I think it's kind of just a mid-diff. If Kashimo uses his curse technique, I think Yuji loses. I think that's important to note. I think if Kashimo uses Mythical Beast Amber, he wins against Yuji. However, it's important to note that Mythical Beast Amber is gonna kill Kashimo, you know. Kashimo only uses Mythical Beast Amber against Sukuna. That is important to note, but even if he did go all out against Yuji, I do think Mythical Beast Amber is a win con, but he probably isn't going to use his curse technique. He was more than willing to let Hikari kill him because he wanted to save it for Sukuna and not waste it on Hikari, so I doubt Kashimo would use it on Yuji. I think he would just let Yuji win. He would just let Yuji kill him. Kashimo bodies Kurarushi. I don't know what Kashimo bodying Kurarushi has to do with anything on this list. You know? Because, whatchamacallit, you know? Jujutsu Kaisen, it's part of the reason why I love Jujutsu Kaisen. It's all down to matchups, right? It's literally all down to matchups. So, like, one character is going to do better against another character, just like another character is going to do better against another character. Even though one character might be stronger than another, it comes down to, you know, release this tier list with no context. Oh god, that would cause chaos, Plank. That would cause absolute chaos. That would be insane. So yeah, Yuji has domain expansion. Yuji has much better odds of ending the fight early with close quarters combat. Kashimo definitely can kill Yuji, but the lightning bolt is his literal only clause of victory, and it's much more hard. It's much more hard. It's harder for Kashimo to hit the lightning bolt than it is for Yuji to mollywop Kashimo and rip him out of his vessel, in my opinion, especially with domain expansion. But I can see how like that is very easy to land. It's a pretty significant win con. You know what? Honestly, I kind of see where like that could be very, very bad. I like it being right in the middle because again, it just really just depends. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, Kashimo could go. Kashimo's like right in between, but yeah, high diff definitely. High diff definitely, I think is proper. I think you're right. Well, no, Yuji could just domain. That makes it easy. Yeah, mid diff. I'm telling you, middle diff. Because Yuji also just does have an instant win con with domain. Because Kashimo, unlike Sukuna, would have to literally hold the hollow wicker basket hand together, and then Yuji would just start bopping him, you know? If Kashimo uses the hollow wicker basket, he'll still have his curse energy trait, and then Yuji gets blown up regardless. How is Yuji going to know the domain off the bat, though? I mean, he's not. What I'm arguing is Yuji's just gonna have more win conditions to go through, right? Could simple domain help Yuji dodge the lightning strike? Again, I think it's important to note that, like, I'm really thinking here. No, I think high diff makes sense. Yuta's gauntlets might deflect the lightning discharge. I think high diff makes sense. I think high diff makes sense. Because that lightning strike is really detrimental. That lightning strike really could end things super fast. I'm like, I just keep coming back to that. And I think, yeah, high diff makes sense. I think high diff makes the most sense, to be completely honest with you. Really quickly, y'all, what I do want to do really quick, just for a minute, if you guys could give me the time of day. We've been streaming for almost about 2 hours now, so if you'll give me just a minute, 2 minutes of your time, just to say something nice about the sponsor of the stream, which is GamerSupps. My code and link is in chat, pinned message, gamersupps.gg/nooperator. If you want to support the channel, the best possible way to do so is to not only obviously hit the like button on the stream, watch the streams, watch the different videos on the channel, and, you know, like, subscribe, all that stuff, but also to use my code. If you are a fan of energy supplements, if you like GamerSupps, use my code NOOP, 10% off. Or if you'd like to support the channel for absolutely free, they will give you free samples of GamerSupps. So if you don't want to try GamerSupps, if you don't want to try them on your own dime, try them on mine, use my code NOOP, get yourself some free samples. They are super duper duper good. And when I tell you that they're good, they have vitamins, they've got vitamin C, they've got vitamin D, vitamin B, they got nootropics, caffeine. So for me, I drink GamerSupps almost every day. I drink it right after I take my Vyvanse in the morning. That vitamin C kicks my Vyvanse up, makes it work good. And also, not for nothing, caffeine keeps me going. And the greatest thing, there's no sugar involved whatsoever. So there's no crash. Free energy samples. They've got really cool flavors. Crimson Moonburst. They've got Plowed and Proud, Acid Rain, Sakura Splash, Klaxosaur's Blood. I've been drinking a lot of Klaxosaur's Blood lately. They've also got AFK with sleep support. So they've got melatonin, no melatonin. So if you don't want caffeine, but you need help snoozing, they've also got stuff like AFK. So guys, please, 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 if you are interested, go to the link in the pinned message. Use my code NOOP, 10% off your GamerSupps order if you are a fan and you want to try it, you want to help support the channel. Or again, if, no domain expansion burnout with GamerSupps. And then again, if you don't want to spend your money on something you've never tried before, use my code anyway at the top here. Free samples if you're a new customer. They will literally just send you some of the samples of their product for free. You go, use my code, and boom, you'll get some free samples sent to your door. You can try it, and that also helps support the channel. So if you want to help support me for free, not paying anything, that's the best way to do it, and you get something for yourself out of it. gamersupps.gg/noop, code NOOP, 10% off your order or some free samples on me. Link is in pinned message, guys. Thank you all so much for the time. Thank you all so much for the chance to shill for you. I appreciate that. Like I said, I love GamerSupps. I drink it all the time. That's not just me saying that because, you know, I'm affiliated with them. That's me saying it because I've drank them for 2-3 years before they even approached me to partner up. So yeah, try them. Get the free sample on me. Thank you for the time. I do appreciate that. Again, I love GamerSupps, so I love, you know, talking about them. That being said, let's move on. We have the final string of this gauntlet here. Now, very clearly, like I mentioned, and like we talked about, oh shit, we missed Charles. We missed Charles Bernard. How could we possibly miss Charles Bernard? I forgot about him. Obviously, Yuji would just win. That's just a low diff fight for Yuji, pretty much. I forgot Charles Bernard. Oh no. But yeah, low diff fight. Now, I do have both versions of Naoya here. I have human Naoya, and then I have cursed Naoya, which is the Naoya that we end up facing, obviously, in Sakurajima Colony. Now, the reason why I have human Naoya on here is genuinely just because I'm curious what you guys would think and how you guys feel that final Yuji would handle human Naoya compared to cursed Naoya, and if you think that would make a difference whatsoever. Because obviously, human Naoya does not have the advantages that cursed Naoya does. Does not have a domain expansion. Does not have the projectile, you know, explosion projection sorcery. And does not move at, you know, the legendary Mach 3 speed. Even though Yuji would probably be similar to Maki, be able to outspeed and keep up with cursed Naoya regardless. So when it comes down to it, if we're putting final Yuji up against regular human Naoya, I think it's very clear that if Maki Zenin is going to be able to not only fucking just destroy and punch the lights out of human Naoya, then Yuji definitely would. I don't believe that Yuji would have the same kind of ability to pinpoint the 24 frames per second like Maki's heightened senses would. Obviously, Maki has the heightened senses of heavenly restriction, so her being able to see, oh, the 24 frames, I figured it out. I doubt Maki would be able to do that. However, what I do think Yuji would succeed in is Yuji would be able to endure the punches and attacks that Naoya was giving to him, and then Yuji would be able to counterattack. Choso was able to figure it out, so I definitely think Yuji would be able to figure it out 110%. Obviously, Choso was able to get an advantage over Naoya because Choso was able to use his big giant torrent of blood to coat the entire narrow alleyway they were fighting in. But I think Yuji would be able to endure all of the attacks that human Naoya is sending his way, just like Maki did. And again, all Yuji needs to do is set up the perfect counterattack like Maki did. And I think that's completely possible. On top of the fact that even if Yuji can't directly physically just raw dog punch Naoya, Yuji's got domain. Yuji's got simple domain. Yuji's got so many other ways to fight and hurt Naoya. And even if he's getting whooped by projection sorcery, now human Naoya not having a domain just puts him at a complete disadvantage, no matter what kind of stun locking projection sorcery is capable of. So yeah, I definitely think human Naoya, low diff, 110%. One or two black flashes and bro's gonna be tweaking 100%. Yuji would probably finish Naoya off and curse Naoya wouldn't exist. Time Heroes, thank you for the $2 just so you can make fun of Mario. That's crazy. Thank you for the dono. I'll take that support. So we just playing these games? Damn straight we are. We are indeed just playing these games. Now, does Curse Naoya change anything whatsoever? Quite honestly, I don't think it does. I really don't think it does. Because the thing is, Curse Naoya is a much more physical fighter than human Naoya, and Curse Naoya doesn't use projection sorcery in the same way that it did previously. It uses projection sorcery around the air for the massive explosions, everything like that. And sure, Curse Naoya flies around, but again, you have Maki Zenin, who was fast enough and faster than Curse Naoya. So I don't see why Yuji would not be able to do the exact same shit that Maki did and basically just spin, you know, Curse Naoya around the block like it's nothing. You said wrong. I don't know about that. Maki could predict Naoya, Yuji cannot. I mean, I guess, but the thing is that doesn't really matter because Yuji will be faster. It's a little harder on Yuji, not much harder, but a little bit. Nah. Yuji's as fast as Maki. Curse Naoya loses this one. Well, I don't mean Yuji's faster than Maki. What I mean by this is Yuji should be able to do everything that Maki did, minus the extra sensory skill. And all Yuji has to do, like, even Kamo, remember, right? Like, hold on, let me go back here. What's Kamo's big moment? Like, listen, if Kamo is out here throwing hands with Curse Naoya and getting up close and personal to him where he can actually do damage and touch him. Start throwing hands and doing punches. Like, imagine Kamo fight. Imagine, put Yuji in this scenario here. Put Yuji in this scenario here where he's getting up close and personal with Curse Naoya, throwing hands, taking damage, dodging this fucking pile drive that's coming his way. Yuji dodges that shit, grabs fucking Naoya's back thing, rips it open, starts throwing insane punches into the open shell. Like, Kamo was able to spit blood into the fucking intake valve where Naoya was building up his speed. You're telling me that Yuji wouldn't be able to do that, but on a better scale, Yuji wouldn't be able to just grab onto Naoya while Naoya is flying like the misogyny missile does through the sky, and Yuji's just, bop, bop, you know, just breaking off pieces? Like, I don't, again, like, I think Curse Naoya is strong, but if we're saying that Kamo fucking Noritoshi is out here doing some shit like this, throwing hands with Curse Naoya, you got Katana and Sumo Guy do. Curse Naoya is not a problem for final Yuji. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. Curse Naoya's main appeal is his domain expansion, and Yuji can just clash. Okay, I forgot Bumo was throwing hands with Curse Naoya. Oh yeah, major anti-feat. Not even using flowing red scale here. This is what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, Yuji is just going to be able to do way more damage than Kamo is. Like, Naoya in phase 2 here, when Naoya didn't have domain and he was just literally just the misogyny missile here, his literal only advantage against everyone was his speed. Like, he was just spinning around and spamming the speed and then like ramming people. That's literally it. So as long as Yuji can tank the hit, grab onto Naoya so he can't escape, and he just starts ripping out all the tendrils in his body and just fucking destroying him, it's just tough. This is a high diff, I'm not gonna lie, but I guess I'll expand more in the comments after the live ends. I'm trying to see what you're saying here. Curse Naoya could perception blitz Maki, and the reason she didn't get perception blitzed after is because of precog. You just get right, but it's important to remember, and Martin, that Naoya was quote unquote perception blitzing Maki after he was spinning around and building up speed fast enough to perception blitz, right? I'm not sure Yuji could tank the hit. Maki couldn't endlessly. Right, but again, you have to remember that like Yuji also has reverse curse technique on a much higher scale. Like, all it takes is for Yuji to tank the hit. Even if it causes massive damage to him, Yuji will heal and then just start pummeling away. He can stack reaction sorcery with the air too and explode it. Yeah, I understand that, I'm giving him that, but Yuji would just be able to dodge that. I don't see why Yuji would be able to, I don't see why that would be a threat to Yuji. We were just arguing that Yuji has some of the best durability in the series. I don't see why how any of these things are going to be a massive threat to a Yuji that can not only endure these attacks but also heal. Remember, Maki's main issue in this fight wasn't that she was injured, it was that it was going to take her way too long for her to heal up the damage. I just think Curse Naoya's performance against Kamo Noritoshi tells us everything that we need to know. You know what I mean? Like, it's also it's also not even like Curse Naoya was no diffing Maki either, right? Like, Curse Naoya was taking Maki by surprise that wasn't even fighting at her full capacity. The moment Maki started fighting at her full capacity, Curse Naoya was getting literally low diffed. The moment Maki unlocked her full power, it was over. Curse Naoya didn't even stand a chance. Not gonna lie, Yuji tanks once, then holds onto him and starts to give big punches while holding on to him. Speed don't matter. Exactly, Coin. I completely agree with Coin right here. Like, Yuji could literally hold on to Naoya while Naoya is trying to build up speed and bring him down. Maki literally locked in and showed him what's good. Yeah, I think I think Curse Naoya is a major issue. But I think Curse Naoya is a major issue more because of his domain than the other reasons. Like, even Katana and Sumo Guy were like, you know, still keeping up somewhat with Curse Naoya. Fucking Katana Sword Guy literally cut Curse Naoya in half the moment he got a hold of Maki's sword. He took Maki's sword from her and then said, "Whatcha?" Because of precognition, right? But Naoya still got hit by the attacks. Like, just because you can foresee everything doesn't mean you can actually execute on that, right? Like, it's almost like if you've ever seen Sakamoto Days and you've watched Shin Azakura use his future sight. Like, just because Shin is able to precognition what's happening, if he's not fast enough and his body isn't capable of performing and keeping up with his precog, he gets cooked. Just because you can see the car coming at you, if you can't get out of the way fast enough, you're still gonna get hit by the car. The point is, Dido was still strong and fast enough to take the sword and cleave through Curse Naoya in half, right? On his first try. Kamo Noritoshi was swinging hands with Naoya and annoying Naoya with his fucking packs of little vampire blood that he carries around like he's a character from the Vampire the Masquerade. Kamo Noritoshi, one of the biggest bums of the series, was surviving throwing hands. You can't tell me that person's high diff in Yuji. Curse Naoya couldn't even low diff Kamo Noritoshi. Curse Naoya couldn't even low diff Kamo. Stop it. Just stop it. Mid diff. Mid diff completely. I don't even know if it's mid diff, quite honestly. Curse Naoya is funny because he has big feats and big anti-feats. I think Curse Naoya is a major issue for anyone for anyone that isn't Yuji. Like, I just yes, like, I will definitely give you that Yuji wouldn't be putting the work as quite easily on Curse Naoya as Maki would, because he doesn't have the extra sensory. But again, I think Yuji has all of the raw stats capable of throwing hands with Naoya just like Kamo did, and then doing 10 times more damage. Kamo is a bum, question mark? Yes. Kamo Noritoshi is quite literally one of the biggest bums in the entire series. Bro literally left the Shinjuku Showdown, said, "I have no reason to take part in this fight. I'm gonna leave." Momo Nishimiya stayed for the Shinjuku Showdown. Now, I'm not saying Momo beats Kamo, but I'm just saying in Kyoto, every student from Kyoto that isn't named Aoi Todo is trash, garbage water. I wouldn't even if I requested sorcerers to help me with a cursed spirit exorcism and I got any sorcerer from Kyoto, I'd say send them back. Send them back. I got a better chance handling this fucking shit myself. You got blood manipulation boy over here that once he runs out of 4 packs of blood, it's over. What's bro got? What's bro doing? Damn, chill, Unk. I'm just saying, bro. Me was the only strong sorcerer from Kyoto. That's what I mean. All's Kyoto school has is memes. And where did MKK go? Absolutely nowhere. All right, so we've got the last 2 characters. We've got Yorozu and we've got Kenjaku. And listen, these are definitely, as many people are saying, the fun and games are over. These are two of some of the strongest sorcerers that we have in the entire series. Yorozu is a sorcerer that was able to casually keep up with and throw hands with a 15-finger Sukuna that was also using the 10 Shadows technique. Now, granted, you could argue that 15-finger Sukuna wasn't using Dismantle, so that 15-finger Sukuna was definitely holding back. However, when it comes to putting Yuji in a situation against that Meguna, I'm gonna have to tell you, I definitely think Yorozu not only put on a much better display, I think Yorozu 110% is just able to very easily keep up with final Yuji. When it comes to hand-to-hand, Yorozu is going to be able to keep up with Yuji, no doubt. While Yuji is one of the strongest when it comes to physical stats and martial arts, so I definitely think Yuji probably has more know-how on martial arts and better hand-to-hand, you know, like a higher hand-to-hand stat. Yorozu is going to be able to keep up, no problem. Yorozu, on top of that, also is going to have Ancient Construction, which is one of the strongest curse techniques in the series when you consider the way that she's able to manipulate and conjure weapons, attacks, and all of her liquid metal in the middle of her combos with hand-to-hand. So sure, even if you want to say, you know, Yuji might be able to get one over on Yorozu every once in a while in hand-to-hand, that liquid metal and her construction ability make sure that she's always going to have the upper hand advantage when it comes to combat in general. And like people are saying, Yuji will definitely have the advantage over a reincarnated player like Yorozu simply because his soul dismantles and soul punches are going to be a severe detriment to her hold over Sumiki's body. The thing is, though, if she uses construction to block off the attacks, Yuji's soul punches are not going to be able to go through. As long as Yorozu, whether Yorozu is blocking the attacks with her, you know, her construction material, or she's using the full power insect armor around her, which again, in insect armor, she was not only outspeeding 15-finger Sukuna, she was actually causing cosmetic and real damage to him. I think it's fair to say that even outside of insect armor, Yorozu is a huge problem for Yuji that domain doesn't even solve, simply because Yorozu's domain is not only going to be able to counter Yuji's domain completely, Yorozu's perfect sphere might even completely override in a domain clash. Like, we never get this confirmed, so this is quite literally just headcanon, right? But the thing is that inside of a domain clash with Yorozu, perfect sphere doesn't go away, I would imagine. That perfect sphere is still going to be able to completely eradicate and completely dust anything it touches. Even if the guaranteed hit does not go into play, that is still a perfect sphere weapon that Yorozu is capable of using inside of the domain clash while she's quote-unquote techniqueless. So Yuji, in my opinion, would actually lose a domain clash with Yorozu, not just because her refinement is better, but just because perfect sphere wouldn't go away even if their barriers clash. We need headcanon modulo scaling to put Yuji for these two. Yeah, honestly, that's the only way Yuji's gonna have a chance. Yorozu can literally just fly around too. She can literally just do this. Yeah, Yorozu has a main and major advantage over Yuji completely just based off of the way she uses construction. She can fight close quarters, mid-range, long range. She has an advantage over every single capacity. Her insect armor as well as her construction metal in general are going to help her completely counter and potentially nullify Yuji's soul advantage over her entirely. It's very clear cut that Yuji doesn't have a single way to overcome Yorozu whatsoever, and honestly, he's beaten at every stop. Yuji might have the higher stats, but Yorozu just has the better battle experience entirely. So yeah, I think Yorozu is a very clear loss. I don't think it's an easy loss by any means. I actually think Yuji loses to Kurorushi far worse than he loses to Yorozu. Just because, again, I think Kurorushi's matchup is 10 times worse. I think Yuji would probably be able to last a little longer against Yorozu, just based off of her matchup, not completely outright overwhelming him. But yeah, I think it's actually like a little bit of a longer fight. Kurorushi is the true honored one indeed. Take whatever you guys say. I mean, that's fine. I think Kurorushi is just a much better matchup against Yuji. Kuro is just a god awful matchup for Yuji, and Yorozu just doesn't have that full on I completely counter everything you do over Yuji. Yorozu definitely outlevels Yuji. I think, for example, the roaches are a threat to Yuji. I won't even take that as a debate. I would argue this difference is like Yuji as a level 50 Pokemon going up against a level 100 Pokemon is comparable to Yuji versus Yorozu, whereas Yuji versus Kurorushi is comparable to two level 50 Pokemon that Yuji is a fire type and Kurorushi is a water type, right? Where like, sure, Yuji and Kurorushi are definitely, Yuji might even be higher level than Kurorushi, but Kurorushi wins because of the elemental advantage, whereas Yorozu wins because she genuinely is just stronger. I just think that's, and again, like I don't think it has anything to do with power, scaling, or anything. I think it's genuinely just matchup when it comes to Kurorushi, whereas Yorozu I definitely think is just a better sorcerer in general and would be able to work Yuji when it comes to actual combat means. And then we have Kenjaku. Mother versus son. And well, this one's tough too. This one is significantly tough, and I definitely agree that Yuji would most likely lose the fight against Kenjaku as well. And the reason for that is just because Kenjaku has so much more at his disposal than Yuji does. I think Yuji, it's actually kind of cute that like his parent, Yuji genuinely does have multiple curse techniques. He's got the dismantle, he's got the blood manipulation, but there's just nothing that Yuji has over Kenjaku. Mid-diff for Kenjaku, you're crazy. Kenjaku is quite arguably one of the strongest characters in the series. Like, Kenjaku is the closest in hand-to-hand to Gojo. So when it comes down to it, Kenjaku is not only going to very easily be able to throw hands with Yuji on an equal level. Kenjaku does not. Oh, Kenjaku wins mid-diff. Oh, okay. I was like, Morningstar, what's going on here? But yeah, like Kenjaku, is gonna be able to throw close quarters hands at Yuji, no problem. On top of that, Kenjaku is not an incarnated player, so the soul punches are not going to hit Kenjaku as hard as they would hit the other Culling Game players. You can definitely say that Yuji's punches would still reduce Kenjaku's soul and would reduce his overall stamina as the fight went on for. But the thing is, with Kenjaku keeping up with Yuji in pure hand-to-hand, Kenjaku also has Curse Spirit Manipulation entirely to supplement all of his hand-to-hand fights. As we see him do, he can use grade 2 curses reinforced with cursed energy that are going to be able to cause massive damage to Yuji, make Kenjaku's combos and physical attacks harder to dodge, harder to keep up with, which means Kenjaku will eventually get the overwhelming advantage in a close quarters fight. Of course, Curse Spirit Manipulation also means Kenjaku can fight mid-range, long-range, and not for nothing, when it comes down to Kurorushi being a bad matchup for Yuji, I would also argue curse spirits like the Ganesha curse spirit that Kenjaku summons at the White House and against Yuki are also really bad matchups for Yuji. Because unlike Yuki, who was able to kick Garuda through the special grade Ganesha spirit, Yuji just has to hope he can run up to the Ganesha spirit fast enough before Ganesha can just lift Yuji up with 0 gravity and just completely just do whatever the Ganesha spirit does, where Yuji can't move and he's just stuck in like an airlock, like he's in space and he can't float through or right? Like, Kenjaku has curses that are not only able to give him a massive advantage over Yuji, Kenjaku just has a massive advantage over Yuji in plain combat itself, especially with the curses he can intermingle. On top of that, if, God forbid, we wanted to say Yuji would be able to push Kenjaku into a corner, Kenjaku has gravity manipulation, or I'm sorry, anti-gravity, which he can use the reversal of to use straight up gravity manipulation, which Yuji has no counter for whatsoever. And on top of that, God forbid this actually does come down to a domain clash, Kenjaku insta-wins the domain clash because Kenjaku has an open barrier domain. Kenjaku doesn't even have to clash with Yuji. Kenjaku can just break Yuji's domain with an open barrier, and then once Yuji's in cooldown, Kenjaku will just win. So, yeah, I will say the worst loss that Yuji definitely gets dealt here is Kenjaku, without a doubt. I will put Kenjaku over Kurorushi in loss, just so no one loses their marbles. However, yeah, Kenjaku is definitely the swiftest loss that is dealt to Yuji, followed by Kurorushi and then Yorozu as a third. I think out of all of the losses, Yuji lasts the longest against Yorozu. Yuji lasts the least against Kenjaku, because Kenjaku is just so easily able to just play with Yuji completely. There's no chance in hell. Losing to Kenjaku isn't bad at all, 110%. And again, Yuji, I would say, ranks higher than Kurorushi overall. Like, if we're putting characters on a Jujutsu, like ranking every Jujutsu Kaisen character that exists, I would put Yuji over Kurorushi. But when it comes to matchup, Kurorushi wins. Kuro glazing is gonna reach Jogo level's trust. I mean, you guys don't even want to hear why I would think Jogo also has the advantage over Yuji as well, right? Like, I mean, Jogo also has a really big time advantage over Yuji, just because, again, Jogo's the same concept. Jogo can literally just fly away, not go anywhere near Yuji, and then just burn Yuji with fucking fire and lava. You know what I mean? Yuji, the floor is lava, itadori. Yeah, literally. Like, yeah, Yuji could probably exercise Jogo in one, maybe two Black Flashes, most likely one. However, as Jogo says, the Black Flash wouldn't hit him because Jogo can just fly away from Yuji and then just fucking burn, summon a meteor, right? Like, it sometimes it just comes down to matchup. Do you think the old man kid from Modulo comparing Maru's floating inertia technique means Yuji obtained his mom's anti-gravity, or possibly Kenny's will and technique were passed to Yuji last recent? I'm not necessarily sure if that really had anything to do with Yuji. I think it was just I think that statement was specifically put there so we wouldn't confuse the two. I think Akutami specifically had the old man think that so we wouldn't think Maru's technique was anti-gravity. Because you already know, if that wasn't further explained, everyone would have been like, oh my god, anti-gravity, the aliens are related to Yuji. Like, the aliens are related to Yuji's mom. They have an anti-gravity curse technique. So I think Akutami learned one thing from last Jujutsu Kaisen, and was that, like, you definitely need to spell things out a little bit more clear. And I think that's specifically why the old man was like, is this anti-gravity? No, there's no way. It has to be something different. Yuji speed blitzes Kuro. The thing is if Yuta wasn't speed blitzing Kuro, then I don't think Yuji speed blitzing Kuro, because again, Yuta and Yuji have to be somewhat comparable in speed. I definitely would tell you Yuji's faster than Yuta, but Yuji's not so much faster than Yuta that Yuta can't keep up in a fight, right? Like, I would believe you if Yuta low diffed Kuro without reverse curse technique. But again, without reverse curse technique, Yuta was at a bad disadvantage against the cockroach curse. And that's because the cockroach curse is a strong curse. It's got really debilitating abilities, you know? But anyway, you want to glaze Kuro? Fine. Name every roach. This is final Yuji. This is Yuji by chapter 271. Yuta at that point fighting Kuro isn't at the same stats we're giving Yuji in this scenario. What do you mean? I mean, we just established that Yuji couldn't even clear Sendai. Yuta did clear Sendai. So I think 100%, like, I don't know. To me, I could get into an argument all day that I would put Yuji, I would put Yuta over Yuji any day. Yuta Okotsu is the strongest sorcerer in Jujutsu Kaisen now. Yuta is closer to Gojo than Yuji ever would be, and I'll fight that to my dying day. I personally don't understand the Yuji over Yuta take for me, but we're not lowballing Yuji though. We're not lowballing Yuji at all. But you know what? Again, we could fight about Kurorushi all day. At the end of the day, we've been streaming for 2.5 hours. I love all of you guys. Even if we disagree, just know that I still love you. The greatest thing about opinions is that none of us need to have the exact same one. We can all fight each other and argue and scream at hilltops and clouds all day. But at the end of the day, we're all gonna, you know, think what we want. A lot of us are confused which version of Yuji you are scaling. I don't think anybody's confused what version of Yuji we're scaling. It's in the title, you know. That's really what it comes down to. I don't really think that was an issue of this stream. But maybe I'm wrong. You know, what do I know? I'm just a fucking idiot. That wasn't me saying you're calling me an idiot. That was me calling myself an idiot, by the way. I agree on everything, but I'll scream at Kuro-shaped clouds for the rest of my life. That's what I mean. We can all scream at the clouds all day, every day. That's what it's all about. That's the best part about Jujutsu Kaisen, right? That's the best part about anime and manga, is we can all, you know, we can all just be kids in the sandbox, going back and forth, talking about why Goku beats Superman. And you know what? At the end of the day, the only person that knows is Stan Lee. I'm kidding, guys. I definitely love you. I definitely love all of you so much. Listen to Lope Decent, said, don't be downplaying the black demon of the modern era. Never downplay the black demon of the modern era. But guys, I love you all so much. When's the 97 review dropping for Kagurabachi? Jessie should be on it. I don't know when she's gonna be releasing it, but she's got the sauce. Whenever Jessie gets out the kitchen. Whenever Jessie gets out the kitchen with the sauce. That being said, if any of you guys are interested in the Kagurabachi review, you can find it on the second channel. Go ahead, click the link in the message. In chat. No Operator 2, No More Operator is my second channel. That is where the Kagurabachi review will be posted. You can see all of my Kagurabachi reviews and even more Kagurabachi content, because I have more than just reviews. I have a whole video on Sojo, a whole video on Chihiro and where Chihiro's at right now. I have plenty of Kagurabachi content. Sakamoto Days, Chainsaw Man, Gachi Akuta. I've got plenty of stuff on the second channel. So don't be scared. Go check out the second channel if you want to. There's plenty of good content on there. Again, Gachi Akuta, Sakamoto Days, Chainsaw Man, Don to Don. I cover all that shit and more, guys. Don't be scared to check that out. Also, not for nothing, guys, if you want to, I'm trying to get more active on social media. So if you want to follow me on social media whatsoever, please follow me on, you know, Twitter, you know, Instagram. Follow me on all that good shit. Hold on, let me see if I can send the message so I don't have to send it myself. Social. All right, I guess that doesn't work. I was hoping it did, but I guess it doesn't. Oh no, it does. There you go. There you go, guys. Go follow me on all the socials, twitter.com, Instagram, TikTok. I need the love on those social medias. Need the love, trying to be more active. We need a Chihiro versus Yuji video. You know what? I'll get on that shit immediately. How about that? Get on that shit immediately. You also got, go check out Hishaku Hideout as well for all of your Kagurabachi content needs as well. The boys, great content creators as well. Go check out Hishaku Hideout. But anyway, y'all, been streaming for almost 2.5 hours. It has been great. It has been fun. I love every single one of you guys, but it is time to call it a day. It is time to return to my dungeon. Guys, stuff like this is fun. I hope to do more of this super duper soon. I'll probably do a video for this relatively soon, within a week or two. You know, I'll just recap the entire thing that we just talked about, throw it all in video form, so look out for that. Again, go subscribe to the second channel if you don't want to miss any Kagurabachi or other main series updates. And again, don't be scared to check out the main channel for any other videos you might have missed. But guys, I love you all. Hit that like button on your way out, and don't forget, thank you so much to GamerSupps for sponsoring. If you want to support the channel for free, go to click the link in the pinned message to gamersupps.gg, and please use my code NOOP, 10% off your order, or just get some free samples on me with my code anyway, and you can try it without spending any money. Love y'all, and I will see you guys in the next stream super duper soon. Read Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo, it is worth it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, y'all.